So a couple days ago, the government of St. Kitts, via their Prime Minister, the Honorable Timothy Harris, announced that they would be doing two things to stimulate the economy in St. Kitts. As an economy, however, that has been growing somewhere around 5% per annum in GDP terms for the last couple of years, it was a bit prudent of them to try their best to continue to stimulate spending, despite just signing an air traffic agreement with Dubai that may cause the economy may kickstart the economy even further, with respect to linkages with their citizenship by investment program, and also further excursions into countries like Bangladesh and whatnot. They've been trying to make moves with the Bangladeshis in terms of their citizenship by investment program. So, having then, as a government, our cabinet reviewed their financials some weeks ago, they determined that as a result of having a recurrent revenue of 480.7 million Eastern Caribbean dollars, and having kept their expenses in check, so that they ended up with a primary surplus of 141 million EC dollars and a normal surplus of 124.2 million EC dollars, that they had enough scope to raise government salaries, and as a result decided to double them. Now, this isn't the first time in St. Kitts history that they have done double raises of wages. In fact, the prior administration, led by the Honorable Denzel Douglas, they would have risen salaries, doubled them in some cases, in many of the 20 years that he was in power, that his party was in power. So it's not a typical thing for St. Kitts to consider raising government salaries so often, or by so much. So, in fact, it is believed in the OECS that St. Kitts is the government, or the government of St. Kitts is the government that will most likely raise government salaries ever so often. And this occurs for a number of reasons. They have a very successful transition from sugar into the citizenship by investment program. They effectively have no sugar industry, so this sugar industry development fund, and it's not the proper name, but still, is quite well supported by investment put into the country by billionaires and multimillionaires who are seeking a passport. And all of this in the face of continued scrutiny by the United States of America, and even more recently the Canadian government. So the question that many Barbadians have, without much of a reference to the history of St. Kitts, the government of St. Kitts, especially knowing that they are very typically a country that runs surpluses in their government, and also they have a small government and a very small population, but a very big and successful citizenship by investment program, which yields benefits to the government, surpluses to the government. They're a country also that doesn't charge personal income taxes, but they have a VAT. The government also has used a stimulation measure of a VAT day. I can't remember when that VAT day is, but it's coming up in December, where they drop VAT, or they allow retailers to drop VAT on all things sold for that day. So it normally stimulates by an activity in St. Kitts for that day. And even more recently, there's been talk about the Chamber of Commerce asking for 2 VAT days. Now, that hasn't been acceded to this year. It is also being said by the central bank, the ECCB, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, that St. Kitts should expect to run a budget surplus over the next 2 fiscal years. So this double, if all plays out, this double raise in salaries and wages at the government level should be sustained. However, our story in Barbados is a lot different. We haven't been able to run a surplus for as long as I can remember. In some cases, we had, yes, a primary surplus, but definitely we've run fiscal deficits all the years I've been a professional, I believe. I could be wrong, but significantly, and there's a significant amount of years that we've been in deficit, which means that we tend to borrow very heavily just to pay wages, and that wage bill with the coupled, with the high cost of interest that government has already stymies any efforts for government to even consider raising wages over the next couple of years. The only way out really is, as some people say, if you wanted a quick and easy privatization policy or the national insurance, buying up more government assets, where government, basically anything that gives government a huge cash infusion that comes cheap, could result in wage increases. But they would mostly be used as a political tool at this point. But there's nothing substantiating wage increases when the economy is basically anemic. Whereas in St. Kitts, it's quite vibrant because they have a successful CBI, or citizenship by investment program. And simply it comes down to this. I would tell the public of Barbados, if they want to find out more information, Budget Day in St. Kitts is December 7th, so just stay tuned.